Australia is the largest island in the world as well as the sixth largest country. It is characterized by a vast desert, unique animal life, and beautiful seaboards. When you think of Australia, how many of you picture kangaroos and koala bears? Australia's history as a British convict settlement and later British immigration hotspot has helped shape the country and the education. There are 8 education systems in Australia. Each state government manages the school system within their state. This means that they provide funds and regulation for their schools. Both public schools and private schools exist in each state. The curriculum taught in each state or school may vary, but the learning areas are the same in all. The Australian academic year begins in early February for school students and late February to early March for vocational and university students. Most schools have 3 or 4 terms a year. Unlike the school system, universities and vocational institutes have 2 semesters with exams held at the end of each semester in June and November, followed by a 2 to 4 week break. The long summer holiday break is from November to March. There are 2 main political parties in Australia. The Australian Labor Party has been traditionally seen as centre-left and has historic ties with the union movement. The Liberal Party is more business-minded with a corporate approach to education. The current Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, is a member of the Labor Party. Australia has 39 universities, of which 2 are private. The national government provides the funding for universities in all the states except the private institutions. Each is independent in its governance. They set their courses and course content. A professional body must endorse a course for it to run. Typically, a university course takes 3 or 4 years of study. Each state has a vocational education and training, or VET, or technical and further education, or TAFE, system. VET prepares people for work in a career that does not need a university degree. Each state manages their system and meets at a national level to coordinate their effort. VET is transferable between all states. Typically, a VET or TAFE course takes 2 years of study. In the workplace, employers use agreed-upon courses and outcomes to set standards of training for employment. Many parts of industry and business provide ongoing workplace training for their employees. Some of this training can count towards qualification. The Australian Union is the force that unites all teachers in Australia. Their educational debates include topics such as capital investment, education of students with disabilities, funding, national testing and league tables. Women are around 70% of the AEU's total membership. The AEU has a long history of focusing on issues of particular concern to women and recognizes the need to protect past achievements and to build on them in interest of gender equity and social justice. The School of the Air in Alice Springs is a correspondence school which brings schooling to the homes of primary students who are unable to attend due to living in remote areas. Lessons are delivered via shortwave radio as well as books and learning packages. The school's first broadcasts were in 1951. Alice Springs is located in the central part of Australia. On July 13, 2010, information on declining international student enrollment in Australia made front-page news in Sydney. Australian press attributed the decline in international student commencements to tighter visa regulations. Australia has always been an attractive destination for South Asian students given its lower tuition fees and more affordable cost of living as compared to the US or UK. The Technical and Further Education Department in Australia is currently calling for a streamlined visa process for students attending school in Australia to study vocation and technical training. Students attending universities are allowed streamlined visas, therefore the technical schools want on board as well. Vocation and technical training enrollment has decreased recently, and TAFE feels streamlining the visa process can help boost their numbers. The New Basics project was undertaken by Education Queensland to prepare students for the future. It dealt with new student identities, new economies and workplaces, new technologies, diverse communities, and complex cultures. The New Basics aim to improve the learning outcomes of students. Community members, teachers, and students work together to ensure that the richness and relevance of students' academic and social growth was enhanced. Blueprints are being developed in response to teacher demand for more rich tasks, more flexibility in implementing rich tasks, and a continuation of standards validation. They are available for any Education Queensland school to choose to implement. Rich task blueprints are innovative curriculum assessment and pedagogical frames. The Gonski Review was the most comprehensive investigation of the way schools are funded in Australia in almost 40 years. It was commissioned by the federal government and conducted by an expert panel headed by senior businessman David Gonski. The final report was released in February 2012. Gonski found Australia is investing far too little in education and, in particular, in public schools. As a consequence, too many students are missing out on the resources they need, and there are growing gaps in the achievements of students from different backgrounds. Gonski recommended a $5 billion a year injection of funding into public and private schools and an overhaul of the way the money is distributed to ensure it is going where it is most needed. Prime Minister Julia Gillard addresses the Australian Education Union on February 22, 2013. When she won the Prime Minister election, she stated, "Labour's victory at the 2007 election was one of the proudest moments of my life. We fought this election knowing Australians deserve better, and I am determined to continue to move Australia forward." Schools are currently being asked to deliver a back-to-basics reading blitz for 1 million children as a condition of Julia Gillard's education reform plan. The program may be centered on the teaching of phonics. Ms. Gillard said it was important for Australia to win the education race to win the economics race. The program will target kindergarten to third grade students and may involve breakfast clubs and after-school activities. Ms. Gillard said 74% of children starting school were at risk of not learning to read well, but studies have shown that could be lowered to 6%. Ms. Gillard said improving reading levels between kindergarten and year 3 was about the children's future. There are concerns to this, and this plan is not widely accepted. Victoria has announced it will pursue its own rival plan to Julia Gillard to fund schools. The current debates in Australian education are centered around the Gronsky Plan, Gillard's response to the plan, and several states setting out to create their own plan. The plans all center around comparing Australia to other countries. The main topics of change include competition and equality, becoming a learning market, making an actual change, letting the public have a voice, and breaking the cycle of disadvantage. The call for change has been made. Now Australian education must respond. Australian education is moving down the path towards positive change. Australia hopes to make its mark on the global economy by enhancing their education. Australia continues to be a popular country for international students looking to combine the unique beauty of the outback with a good education.